Awesome.
We are live.
We are here, yes.
Finally.
After suspenseful 45 seconds of starting event.
Yeah. Well, they could have heard us earlier. Hello. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're at in the world. Hello, I am Tammy Kabell. This is Brian Kabell. Hey, I got
Howdy.
that. That's awesome. All right. And we are here today from CRC, and the whole gang is with us. So we've got Lacey, who will be administrating all of this. And then we also have, we've got Philip Brown in the UK. We've got Clay Schnitker, our COO, here in Kansas City. And we are ready to go. You're ready to go.
Yep.
So, wow, we've got the people are coming in.
Awesome.
So today, well, I'm going to hold off. We're going to actually start at the top of the hour. We could just banter back and forth.
Yeah.
It's
Friday. It's fall. Like officially it's fall. It's way too warm for my taste, but I did notice that our maple trees out front are beginning to turn a little reddish up at the very tip top.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
They're pretty huge
Fall is
too.
my favorite time of year.
Yeah. We should talk about laundry and tree trimming and all of this stuff that we usually talk about because we're
my weekend to-do list. So I've got to put down grass seed again.
Yes. All right. Excellent. And we've got people still coming in, and we've got 3 more minutes before we actually officially start. And I'm excited to share this information as always. But today I'll give you a sneak preview. We've got, the team and I have put together an executive search checklist. So this is really a checklist to help you in clarifying what you need to do before you start a search, if you're just in the planning phase, or if you've been searching for a while, but you don't have a lot of traction. Going through this checklist and making sure that all of these things are done or that you are doing them is going to be really helpful for you. And we are going over 3 main things, which are going to be your executive brand. And then second is going to be really your target role, or the target executive role. Could be role, could be company, could be target method of looking for your new role. And then finally, it's going to be your executive presence, which really is talking about interviewing and the things that you need to keep in mind or that you need to do prior to interviews. And it's a very simple checklist, but what we're going to give you today is going to be above and beyond what the checklist is about. So you'll get the checklist at the end of a presentation, but we really want to we want to give you stuff that isn't on the checklist that will be helpful for you.
Hopefully there will be some aha moments for a lot of people of, oh, I haven't done that, or, oh, I'm not very clear on that, that will help you maybe even diagnose something that may have been tripping you up in your search.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Should be good stuff. Hi, Alexandra.
Hi, Alexandra. Hello. Hey, I want to hear from everyone. Let me know. Type into the chat where you're logging in from. I'd love to know where you guys are. All right. Good morning, Clay.
Howdy,
I haven't
Clay.
talked to you yet this morning. Good morning. All right. And I just want to make sure we've got all of the files looking good. Okay, excellent. All right. I was just checking all of the back end stuff, the extra fancy stuff. All right, good. All right, it is 11 o'clock.
Central Time. We are in Kansas City, by the way. If anyone doesn't know where Career Resume Consulting is based, we're in the Kansas City metropolitan area.
Yes.
Center of the country.
Center of flyover country.
Yep.
Basically. All right. Excellent. So what we're going to be covering today, just very quickly for those of you that have just joined us, is going to be the executive job search checklist that my team and I have put together to help you determine what you need to do for an effective search. So it's really covering your executive brand, your executive target role, company, and method of searching, as well as your executive presence in an interview. So we're going to talk about those three main things. And all right.
Yeah.
Are you shall we just dive
I'm ready
into
to
it? Or
go.
shall
Thank
do
you,
we want to
everybody, for
banter
joining
back
us.
and forth while people are coming in? Or do we want to just go for it?
No, I'm ready to dive in. We can,
Okay.
you know.
Excellent. All right.
Let's hit it.
And keep in mind, give us questions. So we want questions, and we actually will probably, I think it's a good idea, Brian, if we've got the time, to stop at the bottom of the hour and answer questions for everyone, or stop midway through and
maybe
answer
halfway
questions.
through. So yeah, put questions into chat, and those that Clay or Philip can answer live in real time, they will do. Lacey will probably also send us some that you know, for that half hour, and then we can do the same thing toward the end if we have time left over to answer any questions that way too.
Excellent. All right. Let's get us started. And just one moment. And super tiny. I know you guys can see us, but it's not really that important that you see us during the slideshow. Okay, so again, this is an executive job search checklist that we're going to go over. You will get the checklist, but in this video, you're going to hear things that are above and beyond what's listed on the checklist. All right, and whether you're looking for an executive board position or you're looking outside of your current company for something bigger and better, something new, and that is always kind of a daunting experience. And so this is what you can do to help go through the executive search with a little bit of focus, or a lot of focus, actually. Right? Anything you want to add to that, Bri?
No. I just saw some people that are logging in. Was comical.
Excellent.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, hello, everyone. Welcome. Okay, let us get started. This is the first part of the checklist. This is my executive brand. Now, we've put this in first person for a reason. I want this to be like a punch list. So in your search, have you done this? That's what we want. So the first piece of this is going to be my executive brand and what you need to do for your executive brand. All right. And again, for the effective search at any level, now we generally work with people, six-figure professionals. However, this job search checklist is going to be available and helpful for anybody. So let's get at it. And Brian is going to be doing the odd number, and I'll be doing the even number. So go ahead.
Number one, it's really it's fairly self-explanatory, except there's a little distinction about executive brand here that we want to make. So number one, I have a clear understanding of my executive brand and what I stand for as an executive leader. The distinction we want to make here is that you have a controlled perception about who you are, what you want to do going forward, as opposed to what most people think of as far as their resume being just a listing of things they've done. It's more of a reputation or a perception of what you're known for, is how I characterize that executive brand. Tim,
I like to think of it. I like to think of it as resume writing. Even executive resume writing is really focused on the past. It's usually chronological. And what it does is it forces the reader of your resume and LinkedIn to try to connect the dots between all of those things that you've done in the past and what you could possibly do for them. Whereas if you're having a branding exercise or you are doing a branding exercise, you will find that it is, you are controlling that perception, but you are anchoring descriptions that will allow them to see you as to what you want to be in the future. So it's really like past versus future for me. And then it's also, if you ever want to pivot or make a move up that might be leapfrogging where you're at now versus where you want to be, for instance, director to COO or C-suite, then you would want to have a branding exercise done with you so that everyone can easily see you as a a COO or someone in the C-suite. So there is a difference between executive writing, resume writing, and branding, and that is basically it. I'm going to see if we can. I'm going to make us bigger if we can. Here we go. I just like that better. All right, let's do it. Number 2. Now I got to make this shorter. Sorry.
All right.
In one short sentence, I can outline the value and experience I bring to a business. So this one, I have a very simple formula for this. I'm going to give you A plus B equals C. But really, it's ABC. Think of it that way. So in one short sentence, you can say, I help this type of company solve this type of problem, or do, be, or have something. So you help this type of company do something, help them be something, help them have something. And then the C is without a certain headache or a hesitation of wanting to talk with you. So A, B, C, A being the type of company that you want to work for, your perfect company. And that could be a certain industry or a certain geography or a certain size or a certain aspect of that company, like they are market leading or they are have a growth mindset. And then B is I help them do, be, or have this next piece. What problems do you help someone solve? What gaps do you fill? So when you say, I help this type of company get this type of ultimate result, which is another way of putting it, I get this type of ultimate result without this bad thing on the end. So I'll give you I'll give you just an example. As an example, I help small to mid-size companies compete with their larger competitors or even their largest competitors without spending a lot on advertising. Okay? So that's A, B, C. So think of it that way. And Brian, if I quiz you, you want to come up with another one or another way of saying it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really this is very difficult, is what I was going to say. This is tough for people to do, to try to distill yourself and your career down to one sentence. It sounds insane, but the truth and what guides how you determine what goes into this sentence is thinking about the listener. You always need to be thinking from the listener's perspective, the person that you're interviewing with, or the person that you're networking with. They need to understand your potential value to them. And so it is, I help, and clarification of what you're looking for as far as the organization already sets the tone. And then it's choosing that middle piece is the hardest one to try to distill yourself down to, because we're talking very high level view of what you do. And people tend to get down into the details of what they do on a daily basis. So that's really the trick with this. It's that end benefit or end result to the business that you help them achieve. I help them gain market share, and then you get into the details when you're invited to an interview.
Yeah.
But it's, I help them make smarter business decisions based on data, could be another one.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
So then what would we be without at the end? Or with,
without completely overhauling their existing processes. That might be a fear that they're like, oh, he's going to come in here and, we're going to have to change personnel and change software and that sort of thing. Which might be true, but you generally want to just offset a kind of that knee-jerk reaction that they're going to have in their own head to, oh, it sounds expensive. Oh, that sounds like that's going to take a long time. That's what that last piece is about oftentimes.
And, I was looking in chat just a second ago, and Justin Counter has a great recommendation, and that is to use action words. That's super, super important. How many times have you guys seen a resume or a LinkedIn profile that says, I am uniquely qualified to, or I am looking for a company who Oh, I'm trying to think oh, that will take my skills to do X or something. It just, it doesn't, it's not, I guess, sexy. It's just not when you say, to utilize my skill set in XYZ. I don't want to utilize a skill set. I want you to do something for me. I want you to save me money or make me money. Action words. I love that idea.
Yeah. And it's not about you and what you want and out of this. It's about what they get out of this. That's the key about taking that listener into mind.
Sure. Yeah. And if you come up with something that's really good, the listener is going to get chills, or the reader is going to get chills. So, or something like that. When you hit it, you will know, because that's like, oh my gosh, that is me. That is totally me. And so I know that Brian works a lot with people to help them come up with their audio business card, which is really an elevator pitch. And it is an extended version of this simple ABC formula.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really similar though.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3. My LinkedIn profile has an impactful personal message. What we're talking about here primarily is that headline statement. People think it's your job title line, right underneath your name and your picture. You really take advantage of that. You can type in there whatever you want to type into this space. And you can get it up to 3 lines, which we don't recommend. 2 is ideal. But you want to convey, again, similar to that previous statement, you want to convey who you are, what you're about, where you thrive if you can, the kind of business problems you solve. You want to get as much of that across. The thing to understand about LinkedIn is that the attention span is this big. It's 3 to 5 seconds of attention. Most people decide, I'm going to stick around and read this profile further, or I'm done. And it's almost all taking place at that very top of your profile. And of the text, that headline is the most important real estate that is making this decision to stick around and read more, or I'm moving on for the day. That's why great. It's so key.
Yeah. And I'm going to, do you want to look up your own tagline, Brian?
Well, I know it. I mean,
okay.
In my case, mine is trusted career search expert. So there's a little bit of a formula to this too. So career search expert is my noun. Trusted is my adjective in front of that. And that is, a distinctive characteristic that people tell me all the time. That's that honest feedback, truth, my reputation, basically. That's what I hear back from people. So trusted or honest or something along those lines. So trusted career search expert, helping 6- and 7-figure executives. I don't think I've switched to land their dream jobs yet, but I've been toying with that.
Yeah.
I think now it is find a better fit, or find a great fit and get paid what they're worth. So helping 6- and 7-figure executives find a great fit and get paid what they're worth. That's what I'm known for. And all of that fits perfectly on 2 lines. That's the kind of statement you want to get across. We need that noun to understand what this person is. But then where people tend to fall short is that flavor. In my case, it's trusted, or it could be data driven, or it could be customer focused. It could be it's got to be true of you. And then sort of that known for statement without saying the words I'm known for, you just pick up the statement at that point. So helping 6- and 7-figure executives.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
All right.
So then this one is, you've got a professional photograph. A professional photograph is featured on my LinkedIn profile, along with a background that looks clear and simple. So I'm going to take the photograph piece, and Brian, you can take the background piece. And what I mean by professional photograph, it does not mean that you have to pay for it. That's not what I'm talking about. It doesn't mean studio. I guess it means professional looking to me. It needs to be something that is compelling, but also very professional, nice smile, smiles with your eyes. It's really important to show the smile in your eyes. And also people tend to not want to show their teeth sometimes. I want you to show your teeth, because if you just go, Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do it. So I know you can't see it because I'm tiny, but you want to show a few teeth. Yep, definitely. All right,
And
and
I
then
have there was a question in chat. Thoughts
okay.
on picture on a resume, from Mike, excuse me.
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
you want to tackle that later or now?
oh
Since we're
no, we
talking
can
about
tackle it
pictures.
now. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Um, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's kind of was a fad sort of thing that started to occur really popularly year and a half, 2 years ago. I think we started to see more and more of it.
Yeah.
Um, we just think in terms of real estate, and we ask ourselves the question: every element that's on that one first page of your resume that's likely to actually get some eyeballs on it,
Mm-hmm.
is it more going to make that reader more likely to contact me or less likely to contact me? And generally speaking, seeing a
Mm-hmm.
picture, we they're less of a stranger to us. We may be more inclined to reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
But we have LinkedIn for that. And
True.
the resume is a different entity. I tend to be conservative and prefer to see it look like a resume, traditionally speaking. Um, that's
Yeah.
just my opinion on it. I don't know that we have any data to support one way or the other that you're going to get more phone calls if you have a picture on your resume versus less phone calls.
Yeah,
Also
and actually, I
remember,
think that the distinction of having the picture on the resume was probably more important as a distinction several years ago before Microsoft bought LinkedIn. So I would say, and that was in 2016. So for instance, since 2018, LinkedIn has pretty much been the source of finding your next executive job. LinkedIn is a powerhouse for executive searching. I say that all the time.
yep.
And so now this is non-negotiable. You have to have a picture on LinkedIn, and you have to make it available to everyone to see, and not just your first level connections, not just your network, because no one will call you if you don't have a picture there, because you're not real to them. It is all about pictures on LinkedIn. And if you
It's a
don't
big
have
piece of
one, 16% of all of a person's time on LinkedIn profiles is spent looking at the picture. That's pretty significant. That's a pretty big. That's almost 1/5 of their entire number of seconds or minutes that they're looking at your profile is spent gazing into your eyes.
Yeah. So I'll wrap up this slide with that.
Okay.
So what Tammy said is true, and realize that we as humans, our eyeballs go to the pictures on a page first, text second, almost without fail.
Yeah.
So that's why this is important. And we are talking about, I'm not talking about a fully conscious analytical brain saying, ooh, let's look at that picture and dissect that. I'm talking about unconscious decision making, like, ooh, I like this person. Ooh, that's a pretty picture. Not conscious thought here, just, oh, it's more emotional reaction to. And this is where the background picture is important as well. I talked to a gentleman yesterday. His background picture is basically of a lake in the foreground, hills with fall colors in the background. It was a really beautiful picture, but it was very relaxing. It was very vacation-y. It was very anyway, psychologically, it even gets into the sign of winter coming, of slowing down,
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of bad mojo coming from that if you're a job seeker trying to be attractive to an employer. It has no place while you're seeking a job. If it's a placeholder while you're happy at a place, that's great. And
Yeah.
the funny thing was, when I asked him about it and I said, gosh, that's really a bad idea because it looks like you're thinking about, relaxation much more than work. And he said, well, actually, I've taken a sabbatical for the last year. And it was exactly where his mindset was.
Yeah.
I'm taking some time to reset. And that's so, and his fault was he had that still on there, and he has submitted he's applied to 100. That was his breaking point where he reached out to us. He'd applied to 100 positions and gotten very, very little traction back.
Yeah.
And I said, I think your LinkedIn may be something to do with it. Plus, one more thing, sidebar. that he had the open to work circle on his profile picture, which I do not recommend. It changes emotionally. When we see that, we either feel sorry for that person, we get defensive that I don't have budget to hire anybody, I can't, it changes the way they digest everything else on the page. So don't do it, in my opinion. I think that's CRC as a whole. It just psychologically changes the way they look at your profile. So.
Yeah, and I'll add one more thing. To me, when you think about a background, you're talking about the LinkedIn header image. If you want to search it on Google, you could put in image of LinkedIn header images, something like that. And they'll come up with a whole lot of them that you can use. But a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so you have to think of what 1,000 words do you want that picture to say? And put 1,000 words up there, put the picture up there that gives them a whole lot of information about you and how you do business in a professional way. Not the beautiful fall picture, but fast-paced. Is it digital technology? Is it healthcare? Is it, all these different kinds of things that you can connote all with that picture without saying a word. And it's so much faster in someone's brain. They get it. They get you very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that helps.
Yep.
Okay.
Next.
All right. Cool. We're next. Okay. Sorry. I was reading Justin's comment.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So, number 5, any recent accomplishments are quantified and new skills that have been added, have been added to my LinkedIn profile. Yeah. Essentially, to be current is the point, and numbers. Don't go crazy overboard, but kind of picking up on the pictures aspect of how we digest information. If we're looking at a page of text and there are numerals peppered in, we're going to jump to those numbers first in most people's cases when we scan. So we're going to see 56% increase, or 73% cost savings, or $4 billion budget responsibility. Use numerals as a way to take advantage of that short attention span that we get on LinkedIn, to draw the reader in, to buy more time with them, to make them salivate of, ooh, I wish we could have that. Ooh, we could use that kind of, impact. That's, again, we're talking emotional stuff here, which is not the way most people think about resumes and LinkedIn profiles. But if you're doing it right, or if it's working well for you, it's going to trigger an emotional response of relief. Wow, this could be the guy that we've been looking for the last 6 months. That kind of thought.
Yeah. And also keep in mind, too, that if you are searching for a job, the decision to hire you, at least this year, 2021, is going to be done by a human and not by AI and not by just data. It's going to come down to a human. And that human makes decisions emotionally and then justifies them logically. So to Brian's point, when you are appealing to their emotion without being overly sappy, that's the perfect amount of emotional energy that you have to put into it, because your boss is going to make a decision about you emotionally and justify it logically, right? So, yeah, okay, cool. It's not all about the numbers, but numbers do count. All right. So then number 6 is I've updated my resume so that it is tailored for an executive leadership role and showcases the value that I can bring as a seasoned professional. So I mentioned seasoned professional here so that I remember to say that you only need to put 10 or 15 years of experience on your resume. If you're looking for, I would say, a C-suite position, you can put up to 20. However, you don't have to outline. I really like the one-page functional, because it minimizes all of that chronology or all of the years that you've worked all the way down to the bottom of the page, like a footnote. And so I do like that one page. Although with the one page, it's heavy on text. And so I I love what Brian said at the beginning of the hour as far as the picture on the resume as in taking up valuable white space. So every little piece, the real estate is extremely valuable on one page. So you just have to make sure every word counts. And so seasoned, I just wanted to mention, I would say 10 to 15 years going for a director VP type position. If you want a C-suite position, and put in 20. The only way that to break that rule might be if you're in a functional resume would be if you've got something that is really impressive from 25 years ago. Okay, so then what you would do is you can put it in the functional resume without showing the date of that achievement. But then when you do your experience down at the very bottom of the page, you would say, after 15 years, you would say earlier experience includes, and then you put the job title and the basically the place that you worked, but you wouldn't put the date. You wouldn't even have to put the location, just the job title and the company that you worked for.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all I would say on that is just, there is a distinction, between that individual contributor type resume and an executive level role resume.
Yeah.
It's just a much higher level view, less details, less day-to-day task oriented, and more end result oriented.
Yeah, it's true. And as you go higher in your career, you are going to be more generalized, most likely, which is okay. But if you're looking online, then that's all specialized. And so as you get when you put things on your resume, you do want to showcase what you're about, what things does an employer find very worthwhile from you, but also just not the impacts, but I mean, it could be your differentiators or your leadership style. You want to say those things to make sure that they really get a sense of who you are, how you do business. And that way you've got, that goes back to that branding that we talked about. So on the resume, it is a part of a brand, and the messaging has to be consistent with LinkedIn on your resume, cover letters, and then anything that you might say in interviews.
Yeah.
Okay.
So number 7, kind of carrying on the theme here. My resume fits onto 1 or 2 pages. None of these 5 to 7 page resumes, guys. Nobody's going to read most of that. And your golden nugget that was most impressive to them might be on page 4 and buried, and they never ever see it. So 1 or 2 tops, and that it is clear to them how to get a hold of you at the top of the page. Name and contact information, of course. But there's a big element that's missing, and I saw 2 or 3 this week. They did not have a job title listed at the top of the page.
Yeah.
So that really should be here as well. Job title, as well as that contact information. Make sure they can get a hold of you. And the job title aspect is, use the role you are seeking or going for. It helps them on the hiring side to know which position they're matching you up with. And you are already controlling your perception. If you are stepping up from a director level to an operational leader level, possibly COO, or maybe it's a VP of operations. It depends on the size of company and what they call it. But you may say operational leader at the top, or you could actually use chief operations officer / VP of operations. But make it clear for them, and that headline at the top is already starting to control the perception of how they're now going to digest the rest of the information on the page. Yeah. Does it support that title at the top, basically? Yeah, exactly.
And I am almost ready to hire Justin, actually, because he's given some really good advice. But also, Justin, thank you for introducing my husband. We're now a half hour into it, and I realized that the introduction of my husband was before the top of the hour. So everybody early. That came on after the top of the hour doesn't even know who you are, Brian. So I guess. Okay.
Thank you, cool. Justin.
Okay, very good. Okay, then I have both a functional and a chronological version of my resume. All right. So Functional is the one page, and I'll let Brian talk a little bit about what that. Well, did you already cover those functions as far as like
No, we
top
didn't.
3 chord strings? Okay.
We didn't. And I'll tell you what, this is perfect for what the point that Lou just brought up, because I was thinking
cool.
about mentioning it on the previous 2 slides ago. Functional and a chronological resume.
Yeah.
We do these for all clients, and there's a very specific reason for it. Functional style format of resume takes everything away from when it took place, all of your highlights, all of your achievements, when and where they took place, which is how a chronological is written. Everything is grouped by the company and the job title, and then all of the achievements underneath that, and so on and so on. The functional format is the idea of saying, I have these particular strengths, and you group your highlights under that umbrella of, say, operational leadership, or natural eye for cost savings, or transformational team leadership, or cultural turnaround. And you would group your achievements not as they occurred chronologically, but as they support the idea of that umbrella, strength. And then those umbrella strengths, of course, support that big main idea at the top of the page. That's a functional format. And functional resumes are far, far more attractive to human beings. They will be sucked into seeing how impressive you are. And it also strips away, again, when and where. So you can put achievements that are 20 years old right on the front page, right next to something
you did last year.
Yeah, fourth quarter of last year, whatever. And so functionals are great in that regard. Lou's point about, aren't resumes seen electronically? Yes, when you are applying in the traditional channels and applying online, it's almost never going to be seen by human eyeballs until some piece of software has scanned it for keywords and most likely thrown you into the no stack and excluded you. But if it has kept you and said, yes, he matches the job description, then maybe you get human eyeballs. So that's why we do 2 different versions. We have a chronological that will do a better job of getting through applicant tracking systems and software. But if you're sending a resume to someone's inbox, a human being, you want to use a functional.
And I got to tell you, human eyeballs definitely functional. Applicant tracking system online is going to be chronological. But I want to address Lou's question, which is really specifically on why do we even talk about pages? Because it's just scrolling. It doesn't matter the pages. Okay, I get that. However, what we're talking about is brevity of information, the distillation of information down to a certain number of words. For instance, when you look at a 3 or 4 page resume of a software engineer or a regular engineer, you're going to find that there's a lot of information there. And guess what? The last 4 pages of a 5-page resume are not even looked at. And so the MBA, the extra something that you did 15 years ago, if it's chronological, it will never get seen because I have been told by so many recruiters, and I've also heard it from employers, that I don't have time to look past the front page. If it's not important enough to put on the first page, I don't have time to read it. That's what I've heard for several years. And as we go through the years, it seems like attention span just keeps getting shorter and shorter. And so I would definitely say it's the brevity of information. And one of our clients actually said just not too long ago, wow, I am so surprised how much work, how much effort it took me and my coach and the team and the writers and all of that just to get 1 page of information. So just understand that it does take a lot of time. And I've got a quiz for you guys because I don't know the answer to this, but there's a quote that I've heard that goes something like, if you want a 20-minute speech from me, it'll take me like 15 minutes to write. If you want a 10-minute speech for me or a 3-minute speech for me, it's going to take me 3 weeks to write it. Something like that. It like either 2 days to 3 weeks or 15 minutes to 3 weeks, something like that. But I don't remember if it was Churchill or one of our presidents, but it was really somebody cool, of importance. And it just takes a lot more time to write a shorter amount of time. And remember in high school when we were double spacing and making things all stretched out so it'll get to the number of words and the what you needed to have. It's got to be 2 pages. Okay, I'll make it 2 pages, but it's going to be in 16-point font.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Number 9. I have comprehensive and accurate records and notes, including each of my accomplishments, quantified where possible, because the numbers are important, and the impact that I've made in each role. What we're talking about is, ideally, you've done this throughout your entire career, but most of us haven't. But start now, and you will thank yourself later for keeping keeping a brag file for yourself, or keeping a highlight file for yourself. Anytime you get, a quarterly performance appraisal or annual, or whenever, as often as they do it, record those highlights, save those documents. It's not only nice to have when you do decide you're going to add stuff to your resume and update that, but it's fantastic material to have to prepare when you get farther down the road and you're having interviews. You can refer back to all of this stuff you've saved and prep. Find similar situations in your career history to what this company is going through now, and refresh your memory, refresh yourself on the numbers, so you can be very specific that, oh yeah, that sounds like a really similar situation we had. And, it was a struggle, but what it ultimately did is we ended up making about $12 million more every quarter, or whatever it may be. So,
I'll say that as far as comprehensive notes and thank you. Is it Mark Twain? Thank you, Lou. I really, of course, I could always count on Lou for that one. All right. So as far as comprehensive and accurate records, I can tell you that when people go through our branding process, not only is the whole program around an 8-week program, it's not something that you can do in 2 or 3 days by any stretch. But because of that, you're going to have 35 to 55 pages of information. And like Brian said, when it comes to getting ready and preparing for interviews, looking at all of your stories throughout your career and going, okay, which one of these do I want to tell to this person about this role at this company in this industry? And then you find those stories, and then you make a cheat sheet out of that. So you've got the really long, and then you've got the cheat sheet that you would use in a video interview, even in an in-person interview, in an audio interview. You want to put down just a couple of words to remind you of a story that you want to tell, followed by the quantifiable result, so that you always know what that quantifiable result is. And you could just glance at it and go, yeah, that's what I want to say. So in the video interview, make their picture up at the top, right next to your camera, a webcam or whichever camera you're using. And then underneath, you would have that cheat sheet, which you could just do in a Word document. And so that has been very helpful to a lot of our clients. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nope, I think that's good. I think we've got a lot of material still to cover, and it's 40 minutes after.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
And we didn't stop for questions, but I think we've kept up with most of them along the way. So
yeah, I think so. All right. Excellent. So this is going to be your target role. Yeah, we could go a little faster. I'm clear. Sorry, this is yours.
Yeah. So generally speaking, it's one thing to be self-reflective and look at yourself and your career history. That's really where we've gotten to at this point. One of the key things that I see people fail to do is have clarity about what size of company, what industry, what is their target company, as well as what is the role they're going to be doing. And that's what the next several slides really will get into. So
okay. So you would want to have a good idea about the type of organization you'd like to work. So not just the industry that you're interested in. And it does not, you don't have to be industry specific. You really don't. But you do have to be specific about those descriptors about the type of organization that you want to work in. So think about, are they positioned for growth? Let's say, for instance, I do know that somebody on here in the past has always worked for really large companies that haven't grown very much, but now they want to take the operation and really position it for growth. So, or take a small to mid-sized company and grow it really fast. So it really, you want to know what are the descriptors about the organization that you want to work at.
Yep. Number 3, I have carefully considered the size of the organization where I can add the most value.
Yeah.
This is another huge one that people tend not to think about. They think of themselves as, I'll just talk to anybody that comes toward me.
Yeah.
When in reality, you should be thinking where you make the most sense, where your particular skill set and strengths will have the most impact and be the most beneficial, because where you have the most impact is where you will get paid the most.
It's true.
And be appreciated the most. So what I mean is that really the blue chip companies are largely just maintaining and trying to improve margins. They're talking not about just huge growth or expanding into new markets. It's incremental for them. If you are really a big impact player and you have helped companies go from, a blip on the radar to a really well-known name, that kind of thing, that may be your natural environment where you thrive. Yeah. But be clear about, where is it? What's too big? What's too small? And the more clarity you have, first of all, you're going to be aiming more correctly at where you're going to be happiest and appreciated and paid well. But it also helps to guide that editing of all this career history over here as well. That there are certain things that will be less relevant to a really large blue chip household name than would be to a smaller company that's more aspirational for growth. Or vice versa.
And the same thing too, you bring up a good point in that you want to be relevant to the company that you want to get into. You want to be relevant to the company that you're talking to. So for instance, when you're writing a resume or putting in the numbers of your LinkedIn profile, if you have made, I will tell you, we've got a client that came from Walmart and his career impact is over $101 billion. And I put that down on the resume. My mistake, because he wasn't getting phone calls for the first just 2-3 weeks. And then I changed that to millions. Then it's because he was looking for a small to mid-sized company that was growing fast. And that was scaring the bejesus out of everybody, if I'm allowed to say that. Yes, it just
they were totally misaligned. Totally.
Exactly.
What could he possibly do for us? There's no relevancy here at all. It was just, swing and miss.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And I have started to review the job boards now. Be careful on this. I've started to review the job boards to see what roles are currently available and what the job descriptions feature, but I don't want you to apply to those. So the job boards actually are one of those things that you can use on occasion, especially when you're starting a search, to find out, okay, what companies are hiring, what sectors are hiring, so that you get an idea of trends. It really is the same thing. For instance, if you're looking at Glassdoor, all of the different reviews, if you've got an interview with a certain company and all the reviews are negative, Glassdoor will always be negative. So what you want to look for is the trends in what people are saying. Same with the job descriptions. You want to look at trends of what kind of transferable skills they're looking for, what experience factors they're looking for, and make sure that your resume doesn't necessarily mimic those. I don't want you to parrot those. You just have to take the ideas of, okay, this is the trend that I'm seeing. Let's say I'm looking for a CISO position, Chief Information Security Officer. So what part of information security are people most worried about? Are companies most worried about? Is it internet security online? Is it cloud storage security? Is it the data? Is it the IP, the intellectual property. What is it about the security that they want to make sure that is safe? That kind of thing. So you just want to look at it for trends. I really would recommend against putting together those alerts that all of the job boards have that will force feed some of this stuff to you. After you've determined, like you start a search, you start looking at trends. After you do that, you're done with the job boards. You're starting the active search because you don't want to spend your time applying for things that are beneath your qualifications, and also that 9 times out of 10, 90% of them, every time you send out a resume or your LinkedIn or fill out an application, only 10% get seen by a human. Why would you spend all of that time? Because it's not instantaneous. You really want to, people tend to customize things. So I'd say, don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
In general, just protect your time. Don't fall into
Yeah.
that rabbit hole of just thinking you're being productive by applying to jobs like that. Use it for research more so than your main, way of throwing your hat into the ring.
Yeah.
Number 5, I know, and how to discover and access the unadvertised or hidden job market for positions that exist outside of publicly posted ones. So piggybacking off of that last statement, everyone is doing the normal 3 channels. There's apply online, talk to recruiters, work their network of friends that they're comfortable letting them know, I'm searching. Most people that we work with are confidentially searching. So that's a very small pool of people that they're comfortable letting out of the bag for fear that word gets back to current boss or current employer or whatever. So those 3 channels are what everyone else is doing. And it's this narrow mindset of these are the only ways to get a job. And if you start to think of job seeking as from a channel's perspective, how many pathways do people have that can find me or can come to me with a possible position? It's way more than 3. LinkedIn is another one. Well, it's passive. LinkedIn is just sitting there and it's doing its own algorithms to, leave breadcrumb trails between your profile and someone else, but we have no control over that. You can control to an extent by asking people to connect with you on LinkedIn. You're opening a new channel. The people that you are connected with, you're now being presented by those behind the scenes algorithms that LinkedIn does to their connections on occasion. And so your pool of people who are aware of your existence is somewhat within your control outside of the traditional 3 channels. I think
it's true.
I mean,
when I think about unadvertised or hidden job market, that's like 2 or 3 webinars just in that alone. I mean, and I've done them, so you can look them up on YouTube. They're there. But as far as the unadvertised job market, there are places outside of even LinkedIn that you can look for companies that are doing well or companies that aren't doing so well that could possibly use your turnaround expertise. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can look for those companies by looking at your local business journal. And most of the business journals in the mid to large markets are part of a franchise called bizjournals.com, B-I-Z journals.com. And you can actually just go to bizjournals.com and choose a city. So if you want to look remotely at something else, these days, one of the silver linings of the pandemic is that you can work remotely, even in the C-suite. Everyone's working remotely. I think there's probably been 3 or 4 people since last year that we've helped get a job that have to be on site. Everyone else is either remote or hybrid, but most of them don't have to move. And 2 years ago they would have. So you look at biz journals and also look at PR Newswire, which are press releases. So press releases and news releases will come up, and you can do searches for the city. You can do searches for the type of keyword that you're looking for. And those are just a couple. There's actually several different sources that you could find hidden unadvertised jobs, or really what you're doing is not a job search. Someone that I talked to yesterday said, I'm not searching for a job. I'm seeking a right career. In other words, there's a difference between just a job search and, how did you put it, Brian? That was so eloquent.
Yeah, it's, if you're searching, you're just looking to find something.
Yeah.
If you're seeking, you are looking to find something specific. And that's the attitude that we take. And that's probably the biggest difference, that I think when people have the light bulb moment when they're talking to us, I think it's that. Yeah. It's that, wow, I have to be more pinpointed and focused and narrow on what I'm going for. That also means you have to be that much more specific and narrow about yourself in many ways.
Yeah.
You can't just say I'm this nebulous blob and expect people will go, oh, that's exactly what I need.
Yeah.
No, the more specificity you give, who you are, where you thrive, the context kind of thing. You actually get more phone calls than when you're trying to be everything to everyone. And it's counterintuitive. Yeah. But it's the difference between somebody pick me and hey, this is who I am, this is where I thrive, who wants some of this?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and to that point, I say a lot, I tell people a lot, don't try to be, if you try to be everything to everyone or anybody, then you end up being nothing to nobody. It's just so milquetoast that you're not going to get any calls. It's not compelling if you try to be everything to everyone. So I actually just put up the checklist slide deck, and I'm also going to share the checklist just because it's 53 after the hour, and in case someone has to leave because they're on their lunch hour, I want them to be able to get these documents. So I put those up there, so those are available to you in this webinar right now. Okay. All right. So I have a process, a set of tools, and templates in order to reach out to potential employers. So my thought in creating this one was that there's a lot of different templates that we use and tools that we use. We use automation, for instance. LinkedIn is just a powerhouse of executive searching, so you do want to use that. And it is a social media, so you can't be spammy. In other words, here's a piece of advice, and that is, when you are wanting to connect with someone that you want a job from, don't tell them that you're wanting a job in the connection request message. I'm being serious. Just don't do it. Instead, connect with them, then thank them for the connection, and then a few weeks later, then you can give the call to action message. So don't. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on that. I would want to say, though, as far as templates goes, you can put together, if you find that you're saying the same thing to many different people, and by people, I mean the person that would be your boss in the companies that you want to work for. So what I recommend you do is get a Google Chrome extension, if you're using Google Chrome, a Google Chrome extension called Text Blaze. And so just go to the Google Chrome web store, go to Text Blaze, 2 different words, I believe, and it will give you an extension that will allow you to, it's an auto text responder. It'll allow you to put in a large amount of text and then put short keys in there. So when you put the short keys in anywhere in Google Chrome, including LinkedIn, then it's going to pop up with those paragraphs that you've put in to Text Blaze. And it's free. It's free. So you can have like 15 different templates for free. And if you want to pay for it, I think it's $1.99 a month to get more templates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Text Blaze was something, honestly, I used to resist. They've tried to get me to start using it here in the company years ago. And I was like, it can't save me that much time. And I went ahead and got the paid version. I have over 40 templates, I think, that I use because I use them in emails. I use them on LinkedIn. I use them. It's a really, really fantastic tool once you start to adopt it. And it's a huge time saver.
Yeah.
it just even saves you the thought of reproducing another new email. All right, number 7. I understand how to communicate with target hiring managers.
Target.
Is that right?
Yes. Okay. Target hiring managers.
Target hiring managers to generate introductory conversations with them. So what I mean is kind of thinking about if, let's say you're contacted by a recruiter, or you're contacted by someone that would be your boss that is looking to have maybe an exploratory conversation. You need to be prepared to have that kind of conversation and not be caught flat-footed. You know, essentially turning an exploratory conversation into piquing their interest and them wanting to have a true interview process with you. Those opening phone calls, don't spend a ton of time on it, but do make sure that you have a bit of preparation for that so that you aren't caught off guard if someone does contact you on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'd love to chat sometime this afternoon if you have time, or maybe later this week.
I'm going to push back on what you just said, and I'll tell you why. Because if they say, I want to chat this afternoon, you don't have to do that. If that doesn't fit your schedule, or if you don't feel like you'll be prepared enough to have that conversation, then tell them it'll be tomorrow, or tell them, hey, I'm completely booked. It'll do 2 things. If you say I'm completely booked today, but tomorrow or next week would be better, then it says, number 1, I'm not desperate. And that is such a relief, because people smell desperation, just like I always say just like horses and snakes, people sense fear. They can smell fear. So you just, you want to make sure that you're not coming across as, oh, you just tell me to jump and I'll, how does that work? Say how high? Something like that. Yeah. All right. No, it's, you don't want to be desperate, but also it allows you time to get really focused, to get really not only present, but really ready, so that you do have that cheat sheet. You do know exactly the stories that you want to tell in that conversation. So it's that. And also I think with this is how to communicate with target hiring managers. It is generating that initial conversation. A lot of people that come to us, they say, I'm not getting any conversations. That's all I need. I'm happy with my resume. I need to have those conversations. And a lot of times, even though we help people throughout entire entire searches, I should say, from the beginning of the branding to negotiating their compensation. But you have to have a great first impression. You have to have a great brand. And it makes the communication so much easier when you're in an interview, for instance. But you have to know how to have those conversations. So it's not just the personal brand, because like Brian said, that's the billboard. It's a stationary piece of marketing material. And so you have to drive traffic to that billboard. You have to have quality traffic coming into that billboard. And just having it there is not going to, you can't build it and they will come. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, cool. All right, so I'm able to expand my marketability in multiple sectors by having an exclusive network of high-ranking, industry-specific contacts. So one thing I want to mention, because I know we're coming up on time and I know a lot of people might have to leave. So we'll keep going if you guys want to listen to us. Anyway, with this one, but I will make it quick. With this one, I would say it is important to have the right contacts and not just a lot of contacts. You have to have the contacts in it's going to be the, let me think, right size company, right industry for you, or multiple industries. But size is really important too. And the right level of people. If you don't have contacts that can right then introduce you to someone who needs somebody like you, or contacts that would be that someone to need somebody like you, then you need to go out and create that network. If you don't have it, like for instance, one of our clients was in Southeast Asia for the last 15 or 20 years. came back and he's like, I don't have any contacts in the United States. All of my contacts are in Asia. And so, we're starting from scratch with him, and branding is important, but also channels, knowing how to get those contacts. And LinkedIn is a great way to expand your network, because about 30 or 40% of the connection requests that we send out on behalf of our clients get accepted. And when I say we send out, it's actually coming from their account, but we're helping them through some automation to get in front of a lot of people, usually over 100, hopefully a day. So I would say you would want to have a lot of those high level industry specific contacts. In other words, a great network that works for you, that does work for you. Okay. Anything you want to add to that, Bri?
No, just it piggybacks onto something we said earlier about the quality of the connections you have, and you're picking up also, you're on the radar of their peers as well, more and more on LinkedIn. That's why that quality of high enough authority or high enough position in the authority that they could hire you. That really does.
Yeah.
That's the big, connecting with your peers. Can most of your peers hire you? No, probably not. They're in the same boat you are. You want to try to level up a little bit as you increase your connections.
True. Yeah. All right. And then, go ahead.
Number 9. I'm fully aware of and have considered growing industries where there's abundant room to expand my role in a company that's positioned for growth. Essentially, I wouldn't go out and target typewriter companies right now.
Paper companies? I'm talking to you, HP.
It is just, and I don't think this really needs a whole lot of discussion, but generally speaking, goes back to that, where am I going to have the biggest impact, but also think about the mindset and the what the company is going through right now. Do you really want to walk into that situation if they are losing market share? Blockbuster might be another, more recent example.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a Blockbuster though. It's really, if you go into another company that is as big as the company that you came from, and let's say, like, most of our clients come from companies that are over 10,000 people or more, and then they're wanting to get into a smaller company that's going to grow higher. I hear from everyone, making change in a larger company is like steering a battleship, versus in a smaller company, it's like steering a speedboat. And they want that speedboat feel because they've been on a battleship for too many years.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say about that one.
Yep.
All right. Now, when we talk about executive presence, we're talking about interviewing specifically.
Sorry. So we are in the home stretch. This is the final section.
Yes, we're almost done.
All right.
Thanks.
So now we're talking about interviewing. Number 1, I have suitable professional attire for interviews, networking, engagements, and meetings, both online and in person. And I'll add to that, your staging around you, your lighting, your camera quality, because most interviews at this moment are still virtual. Put some thought into that. Make sure it's professional and decent quality. If I turn off my camera or my light, this is what I look like. So,
I can beat that.
Anyway,
I can beat that. Yeah.
And it's not that you say, oh, they've got great lighting. We just don't look like we're in the dark. That's it. And
that's right.
It's, again, back to that whole unconscious, how we feel sort of stuff. Control the perception. Look professional.
Yes. That is important. When we work with someone in branding, we actually send them the material that they need to use. I should say the equipment, the lavalier microphone, which is a lapel microphone, also professional lighting. Even if you need an upgraded webcam or something like that, we are sending those, and it's because it helps them get jobs quicker. So I do have a video interviewing checklist of all things. I actually put together a video interviewing list of things that you need to do and have, and it even has links on the best lapel microphone or anything else that you would need. So you could go out to careerresumeconsulting.com. You could put that up in the top, Lacey, if you're still there. Up at the top, you could go to careerresumeconsulting.com, and in the top navigation is the video interviewing checklist. It's a video interviewing guide. So I would definitely recommend picking that up, because you will be doing video interviews. I guarantee it, if you're looking for a job. Yep. And the last thing I want to say about this one is wear pants. Wear pants. No, I'm serious. You don't know if you have to get up.
Do you want me to stand up?
Yes. No. Gosh.
I have pants on. Nobody worry.
All right. So then I am aware of how my body language comes across and the words that I'm using, like eye contact, influencing language. Influencing language is a big one. A lot of people come to us, especially when I'm talking to them, they'll say, can you make me more executive-y? Okay. So executive-y is all around communication. It's around nonverbal communication. It's also around the words that you use, but it's intonation, voice inflection. And like, for instance, I say, and I also say so at the beginning of every sentence. I've really got to watch that. So if I was now that's proper, but so if I was going to interview somewhere, I would make sure that I practiced that, as well as that I felt comfortable in saying what I want to say. Executive presence, instead of just silence. So you do a pause. Mm-hmm. That puts a lot of weight on everything that's around that pause, before and after.
Best way to do this is record yourself on Zoom, guys.
Yeah.
Go to a Zoom meeting by yourself, hit record, and do your own mock interview with yourself and kind of watch what you do. Or if you have somebody that is willing to jump on the other end, and just again, when you watch that recording back, you'll see some things that are like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I did that, or oh my gosh, I didn't realize you could see that teddy bear on the shelf behind me. That's, in my otherwise business office, whatever.
Yeah.
Number 3, I feel prepared for, and I'm ready to tackle the interview, whether it's in person or online. Mm-hmm. We've pretty well danced around this one already. It's really studying your career history, knowing your stories, having that information at your fingertips mentally, and even maybe using that cheat sheet that Tammy mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. You're not dreading or terrified about an interview. You're excited for the opportunity. You're excited to get the chance to go up to bat. I think of things in analogies, and every interview is it's an at bat where you have a chance you might hit a home run, but you have a much higher likelihood that you will if you have put in the practice and prepared, and you're going to be able to go up there and be way less nervous for this one shot that might really matter. It might be your dream job with your dream company. I'm not saying to over prepare and don't sweat it too much, because it's also a numbers game. You don't know if you're the exact perfect person that they're looking for. All you can control is that you are prepared and you do the best job of representing how impressive you are.
Funny, Lou. If you guys aren't looking at chat, I'm not even going to say it. All right. So also, I would say just make sure that you are researching the person as much, if not more, than the company itself. Nobody wants a subject matter expert on their own company to come in. That's not going to be valuable. But if you talk to me about playing electric bass, if you talk to me about anything having to do with marketing, man, I'm geeking out. So that's personal to me. I would hire you on this in the spot, whatever. I would hire you in a minute on the spot, because when you remember, going back to what we said at the beginning of the hour, it has to do with making decisions emotionally and all of the unconscious stuff that happens in that decision making. In fact, your unconscious makes the exact same decision that you're going to make consciously 7 seconds before you make it. which means that all of your decisions are made unconsciously, which is kind of scary. I just wanted to throw that out. Talk about marketing, tidbits and geeking out on that. All right. So then also a coach, friend, or family member has practiced interviewing with me and given honest feedback about my answers and the way that I come across as a professional. So that's going to be important. Again, interview yourself on Zoom, have somebody else do it. Like, for instance, Brian and I are in the same location. We're just not in the same room. And that's okay, because I'm not going to be oftentimes in the same room if I'm doing an interview with someone, especially for a remote position. So you want to make sure that you're coming across very well. For instance, a client of ours, and I'm not going to mention his name, but everybody who's a client that's on here knows what I'm talking about. A client of ours didn't use a lapel microphone when talking from his laptop in our open office hours session that we do on a weekly basis. So everyone was talking about it's a time that they get Tammy time asking questions. This person didn't have a lapel microphone, and because of that, we were missing half or more of what this person was trying to say. And I kept saying every single week for 2 weeks, "You got that lapel microphone?" Because I knew we had sent him one, and but he wasn't wearing it. And it turns out that his lapel microphone is for his iPhone, and he needed one that went into his laptop. So I sent him one that went into his laptop. Problem solved. But it's those kind of things that you may not be aware of. But if you're talking and nobody's hearing you, that's a big problem in an interview. And they're not going to ask you, "Huh? What?" over and over again. They're not going to write anything down, and they're going to go, "Well, forget it. He's not professional."
Yep. Another reason to test on Zoom.
Yeah.
And test a few times with a few people, make sure everything's good and sounds good and all that. So number 5, I know how to network online, and I know what I'm going to say in my networking conversations. We're just kind of beating the LinkedIn drum here. And that really is
you're right.
Activity is going to have the most traction for your amount of effort. It is accepted there. I don't know, things that pop into my mind are, Facebook, well, or any other channels. When we say online, I'm all for opening new pathways. As I mentioned channels earlier, I want as many possibilities of someone being able to discover me and give me a perfect fit role as possible. But you have to make your choices of where you're going to spend your effort getting the message out by what's going to give you the most traction.
Yeah.
So I would say I am an all of the above person, but be very selective about the percentage of time you dedicate to each of those pathways.
So
if I'm doing it for me, I'm doing
it
it on LinkedIn. I will just tell you that. Absolutely. Most of my activity is going to be LinkedIn, outbound.
Yeah. So, something just came to mind to me that we haven't even talked about, and that is LinkedIn groups. So when you think about before the pandemic, when we were networking face to face, a lot of times it was people within the same industry, or it could be people within the same function, marketing, for instance. Location, of course, and oftentimes it's not. Well, I guess there is networking for specific size companies, because you think about the Chamber of Commerce. It's all small businesses. It's all small local businesses. So here's what I recommend with LinkedIn groups. Something you should know is that LinkedIn allows you to have up to 100 groups. That's huge. I would recommend joining groups that are larger than 10,000 people, with the exception of if it's a really niched group. You've really got there's not that many people there, and it might be global, it might be local. There's a lot of different ways that you can choose a group. You can search for groups and look for things that are in your function, like marketing, for instance, or IT, that are other IT professionals, technologists, technology leaders. There's level. So you could look at CEO level, C-suite level, CXO, meaning now for CXO, on LinkedIn, it's not meaning chief experience officer. It's actually meaning anything that's a C-suite position, like a CEO, COO, CRO, CSOC, TO, CIO, that goes on, CMO, CFO. Okay, I'll stop. And so you want that level, you want the function, and then the industry or geographic location. Like there's probably 200 groups in the Bay Area, especially for technology. They're everywhere. And so join 100 groups. You're allowed to have 10 open group invitations at a time. And that's something that I have a feeling they will change one of these days. Right now, in order to be into a free group, for the most part, you've got to get the administrator to go, yep, you're good, and they click a button. But they don't do that every day. So you have 10 active open requests to get into into a group. And then when that administrator says yes, then you've got one down, you can put another one in there. So do some searching and get 100 of them. And that way, and you are allowed some free in-mails if you're in the same group. So I would recommend using that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I think this might be the last one. I'm going to peek. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Cool.
Right. Okay. All right, go ahead. Oh, no, it's mine.
This one's you.
I am having conversations with professionals at my desired level about how they got into my chosen industry. And so what this is talking about is really having conversations with other job-seeking professionals like you're doing in the chat right now. You're learning a lot from everyone, not just Lou. I mean, Lou is like amazing, but there's like anyone that you talk to that is also searching for a role is going to share information that you didn't know about that industry, about maybe it's a function, maybe you know other, let's say, marketing leaders, and then you reach out to them, or other CEOs or other business owners, whatever it is that you're doing. I know we're not doing business ownership right now, but it really is finding out stuff with other people that you didn't know about stuff that they've done. In other words, everyone's leading everyone else. Everyone is a Sherpa for everyone else, because there's always, I learn stuff on a weekly basis about what the job market is doing right now based upon what I hear from our clients. All right. Cool.
Yeah. And think of it as a learning experience. It's not necessarily about, can this person help me get a job? Maybe they can, and now they know you exist and you've had a genuine, grassroots conversation, but you're doing it primarily for getting insight into that industry or how they got in, and maybe you will learn something that you can take advantage of. I want to share one story before we wrap up that was in the chat privately here.
Yeah.
I won't mention names because she wanted to be anonymous, but she said she's been unemployed for 2 years and searching, and she went to our website and downloaded our one-page functional resume sample, and it took her 3 weeks to distill this 15 years of career history down to one page, but she got it done.
Yeah.
And she's already had 2 calls, and she's only been using it, I believe, 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh, that warms my heart. That's great.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, and that Uber driver ended up being Tom Cruise or something that, kind of those kind of things. No, that really does.
It was.
Yeah. That's a great story. Very good.
I asked permission to share, yeah. Anyway,
cool.
That's pretty cool.
So I'm going to introduce my husband. His name is Brian Kabell, and he's the one that's been talking over here. All right.
I need a name tag.
With your name tag. Hello, my name is. And so email him if you would like to get on his schedule. And I do believe that I can put him up. Let's see if I can find it here.
Well, and also there's not a ton of people left, but we will be sending out a replay to this. We should have mentioned that earlier. There will be a replay of this recording will be emailed to you about an hour later.
I think I've got it set to go around 2 p.m. Central Time right now. Okay. So if you want to get on his schedule, you can actually talk with Brian just by clicking the button under his, I believe it's under his pretty picture in the sunflowers. That's the one that was taken by our 19-year-old, although that was when she was probably 16. So we are here to help. We do everything from branding. I'm not going to call it resume writing. We do write resumes, but it's a lot more than that. So we are here to help you with everything, getting support with all pieces of your job search. So if you're interested in talking with us, please go ahead and sign up for a time to talk with Brian. And then he's amazing. He's got a lot of great advice for you. And even though he's only been doing it for 3.5 years or so, you're doing great.
I'm married to the guru.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Well, you've heard a lot of it. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. I'm going to remove. There we go. All right. I just wanted to remove that so we could say bye.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking around with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it.
And a great chat.
Thank you for the chat. And I would love to know, what was your biggest aha moment? If you're still here and if you can give us some feedback, what was the most valuable piece of information that you learned over the last hour and 15 minutes? I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, 20 minutes. All right, hour and 20.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Bye. See you later. Bye.